There we go. It's just like it catches, and it's like, oh, am I going to actually get in? Do I get in? Oh, there it is. Okay, good. We're good. You know, that's how it always goes at the start of these games. So, plenty of iron and aluminum being found early this game. Not that any of it's actually, you know, good by King Morgan. And Senitz, he's found about the same stuff. He's going to go ahead and check to the northwest and once again find no resources because the map is just a jerk today. If this is an iron tile, I would forgive anybody just immediately throwing down scientific and being like, I will figure it out from there. But nobody's done that yet. King Morgan instead choosing to scout elsewhere. Senitz, oh man, guys. This map, hey, carbon. I expect to see that found immediately by King Morgan because, well, I really want one of them to go ahead and throw down. We know there's silicon up here, right? People can tell that if they just look around the map a little while and see the silicon.
Scientific colony found.
Okay, Senitz did finally find that trio of iron and immediately drops down steel. He's going to do the me play and just figure out what to do with it later. Now, the concern is water is very far away, silicon is very far away, but at least it's usable. And frankly, this game is one of those games where as a scientific player, you just go, man, I'm going to dump water pumps on these, and then I'll pretend I'm not scientific, and that's okay. I'm already getting my steel bonus. That's all I need to carry on through into the rest of this game. Now, King Morgan has continued scanning. He's actually identified the silicon off to the east. He's found more silicon up here. He's found another good patch of water way in the northwest. But he needs to choose what basic resources he's going to use. There are none of those left on the map. He's just going to have to actually found and get started. He goes scavenger up in the northwest corner. That is a perfectly reasonable found location. He has strong access to silicon, water, carbon, and aluminum. Everything he's going to need this game. And so, despite the fact that he got down much, much later, he's likely still in this game. And on top of that, nope, it looks like Senitz. Okay, so Senitz wanted this aluminum tile. That didn't really pan out for him. However, he is going to get a hold of these water tiles that he quite desperately needs for water pumps, and he'll just have to figure out the aluminum somewhere else. He could even just throw down a couple of aluminum right here, or even just one, and potentially be okay much closer to his base. Now, this water is very far away, but the strong steel production might still carry Senitz through this game.
1,000, 2,000, 4,000.
All right.
6,000.
Claim auction for a geotherm. Sorry, I was checking chat for a second there, guys. I'm trying to do better at that, but then I kind of stall out my commentary, and I need to work on that. That's my issue. Claim auction, geotherm auction in particular, for 18,000. Going ahead and going on over to King Morgan. That is that's a lot of cash for a geotherm early in the game, especially when you were a little bit late to the start. Because he's also going to have to pay, of course, extra in the interest based on that. It's about a 20,000 plus debt cost on that particular tile, but it could still be worthwhile as it does give him quite a bit of power. Maybe it lets him commit to carbon a little bit harder and know exactly where he's going to put that carbon into the geotherm plant later, things of that nature. But right now, King Morgan really just needs to be looking for an expansion and then getting into some decent resource production. He might even just take one water. He's taken a water. And then maybe just a couple reactors, knowing that his opponent has water flowing in and will likely need to pay some of that down in order to get the aluminum he needs to upgrade. Instead, though, King Morgan, he is choosing to head into silicon and water and extra carbon. He'll likely get this geotherm up before too terribly long, given that it'll take him some time to go ahead and make the money to have the glass available to upgrade. Could be a reasonable play just to go ahead and get this down fairly quickly and keep power from going too nuts on anybody this particular game. Well, Senitz still has the advantage here, in my opinion. King Morgan has managed to secure some decent nearby tiles, so he's not paying a lot for them, but Senitz was off to such an early lead that even with the sheer lag time between starting these water pumps and these water pumps giving him money, he still managed to pull in quite a bit of water before his opponent got into it, make enough money to go ahead and push to HQ level 3. He's going to get down a little bit of extra aluminum. And then I expect to see reactors. There they are. Reactors come on out of Senitz. He's got that production very well established. He's got the water coming in for them. The reactors should give him the cash to once again buy up the glass he needs for an additional expansion, and he's likely just going to be pushing to HQ level 4 as fast as he can. However, there is a glass shortage that's come in this game. Nobody, I think, is well... Oh, wow. King Morgan has actually committed quite hard to this glass. He knew about the shortage before any of the rest of us because I hadn't selected him at the time and didn't see it coming. That could hurt Senitz quite badly if all he's pushing for is upgrades, and it could give King Morgan an avenue back into this game. If he can manage to get an upgrade based off of this shortage, he can go ahead and sell down glass, upgrade, and potentially move into glass production quite easily. It's just where his advantage might lie this game. That glass shortage might have saved him and kept him in it. However, Senitz has already moved into glass production himself. In response, he went ahead and scrapped his steel. That means he will have to potentially buy up steel for an upgrade or for extra buildings in the future. However, it does block King Morgan from maybe getting to just throw down glass based off of his upgrade and take the lead from there. Claim auction coming out. King Morgan obviously already has about 10,000 more debt. That's not too bad, so he's going to push to 18 for this claim. He has 5 claims available. He also goes ahead and moves into glass. He can even commit a little bit more into silicon here. I am very concerned, though. This is a consistency from King Morgan we've seen across these games, is instead of committing to that full triangle, that twice as good as the other thing, he commits to just 2 tiles. And I'm also quite concerned about the fact that he's moving into... well, the reactors might still be enough. I don't know exactly what'll make more money here. So, all told, we've got 3 reactors down for King Morgan. Together, they're going to be making about $200 to $210 off of those 3 tiles. And then he's making about 60 a second off of his glass put together. Whereas Senitz glass is making him about 180 plus another 80 from these reactors. It's very, very close what each of these 2 players have done. I think, however, King Morgan has the slight advantage, realistically, having committed fully to the reactors, just because reactors make so many resources and glass consumes so many resources to make and only spits out that 1/2 a glass per factory. And in fact, Senitz has gone ahead and moved away from the glass, deciding, I don't really need that, I'll head into the iron very quickly. And King Morgan has responded with a power surge onto the electrolysis, making sure to maintain his fuel and oxygen production. Senitz also, I believe, is in a situation where he has not put down any power yet. And so despite King Morgan taking all of those auctions, he only has about 30,000 more debt than Senitz. Because Senitz is going to be gaining so much more debt per second than King Morgan is. And King Morgan has, in fact, managed to push to HQ level 4 before Senitz has, and he is going to get into that quite valuable food production. He can use his glass for this. That's very, very nice. He also has very easy access to more silicon if he wants it. And King Morgan is very well set up. Senitz just lagging a little bit behind in getting to that HQ level 4, likely based off of the fact that he had to scrap his steel in order to move into glass, and things just got a little more complicated for him, all told. Also, because he committed so hard to glass, instead of committing additionally into electrolysis and then later food, he has been flooding the market with water this whole time, and his water has stopped making him money some time ago, and he has a rather large stockpile stored up. So having not taken a large advantage off the large amounts of water coming in early in the game, it's now kind of turned into a disadvantage that he has so many tiles committed to so much water that he just hasn't been consuming. Whereas King Morgan, he got into the tiles a bit more reasonably around when his production was available. He hasn't had to buy up too much water, so he's not pushing that price too high for Senitz, and he's just kind of expanded into them as he's needed them for his own production. King Morgan also grabs up pirates for 3,000. Once again, Senitz looking a bit distracted on the auctions, maybe a bit too much in his head about what he's actually doing at this moment, rather than focusing enough and able to shift gears when an auction pops up for this game. Now, Senitz has taken a high silicon quarry. That's going to be very important. This is a good $100 a second out of this silicon quarry. It's exactly the kind of thing he's looking for. And he's committing more to the reactors. My big concern here is reactors are on the way out. They're coming down. There's plenty of fuel in the market. There's plenty of oxygen in the market. There's so much glass being made that oxygen is going to have its price sustained very effectively. And food is king at the moment. And, well, King Morgan is king, as it turns out. So he might just be able to run away with this game. He has committed quite heavily to the food, and he's going to need a little bit of extra power in order for debt not to drive him too insane. But Senitz, once again, in the same situation, 95,000 debt. There's actually a food surplus, though. That could keep Senitz in it, because King Morgan suddenly maybe not making enough money to actually push for the win just based off of this food. He's going to have to figure out something else. He's going to have to add to all of this in order to maintain his strong lead. And on top of that, he's out of tiles. He can't take anything else unless he goes ahead and grabs a new claim off the market. Solar panels have been coming up for both players. Once again, that's going to keep silicon nice and expensive. King Morgan almost certainly losing money on this glass. Yep, 40 a second on the glass. Got to watch out for things like that, guys. Got to turn those buildings off at that point. Reactors also losing money. A lot of this, however, is in the sheer power cost of the buildings. Now, given that both of these players are really trying to pay down some debt, might be a good idea to go ahead and shut those down and move them into something else and just let the silicon flow for the time being. Speaking of the silicon, though, Senitz with a definite advantage on the silicon production, sitting on about 4.5 a second to King Morgan's 0 because he is choosing to burn it all in his glass furnaces. Hacker array coming up for King Morgan. He's going to have to do something serious with this because he's once again stalling out in his transitions. He was relying a bit too much on food, which the random surplus came through, and that was quite painful for him. However, this glass is really telling the story. He's just burning all of his silicon. He doesn't need to be doing that. He can just turn the glass off, make money on the silicon, and be just fine. Power surge comes out from Senitz. That was a nice $6,000 power surge. Very painful for King Morgan, who is going to be looking to pay off his debt quite effectively with these solar panels. Instead, however, Senitz will be the one paying debt from this high power price, paying off a good $1,500 a second here, and definitely keeping himself afloat, raising his stock price so King Morgan can't finish him off very quickly this game. Thinking machines is a big deal, especially with that hacker array down. Thinking machines is a big deal. King Morgan, oh, not going to just let it go. It's getting a little scary there for him for a moment, but he's not going to just let it go, which I think is a big deal. You don't want to just let that go when you've got a hacker array down. By the way, the hacker array is pulling out just a simple and straightforward carbon shortage. Makes a lot of sense. He's got a lot of carbon. It won't be too much money his way, but it'll be something. It's just kind of a little edge. And the thing is, King Morgan's been taking little edges here and there this game and then kind of like falling flat at other times. These reactors haven't been doing much. These glass furnaces haven't been doing much. These farms haven't been doing much. And he's basically has nothing happening except for his carbon production right now. And that's definitely a bit of a concern. And I suppose his silicon. His silicon is still coming in and making money, but I worry that he's allowed Senitz too much room to catch up. However, that said, he's sitting on 64,000. Once this shortage happens, he can potentially turn that 64,000 once again into an insane amount of money and actually get something done with Senitz. But he is stalled out at this 50% this whole time. And then this should just start going down once again when Senitz power comes back online. Senitz is all set up to upgrade with his glass. He's just waiting on the steel to come in. He has moved back into that steel production. Very, very important to go ahead and do. He has a lot of water stored up that he's not putting in the market. Could let him push to that upgrade just a bit faster and find some solid way to make money. And off-worlds are a serious consideration for both players this game. So I'll actually go ahead and check off-world prices. Fuel, it looks like, would be quite effective to send, sitting at $480 per fuel off-world. Could be very, very nice. King Morgan's shortage is about to hit. He has bought up 1,600, almost 1,700 carbon, driven that price up to $180. So he was sitting on about 70,000, I believe, by then. At that point, we're going to see exactly where it lands with this hacker array. An EMP drops right onto the goon squad of King Morgan. And we're just going to have to watch this number go up. Let's actually watch from Senitz's side, because this will be a bit more telling. We can see the percentage isn't moving up fast enough that it will likely kill Senitz. You know, he's like, Senitz is still okay. He's managed to pay off enough debt. His stock price is staying solid. He's not quite out of it yet. He's even gotten to that HQ upgrade, but he still has to start getting nervous about where he's sitting this game. King Morgan did go ahead and sell down. His carbon is down to being worth $1. Water's worth $1. But suddenly, all of this production is profitable again, right? The glass is good. The food is good. The electrolysis is good. He's just got to turn it all back on. All right. Where are we sitting here? Yeah, not even halfway there. King Morgan has bought up quite a lot of the stock, but he just needs to turn... Okay, the buildings are turned back on. King Morgan might wrap this up momentarily, because once again, Senitz is still in this position where he's not really making a whole lot. He managed to pay off his debt, most of it. That's good. He's got carbon coming in, however, and this was a big mistake. I think this was a gut reaction to the carbon shortage, not really registering that carbon was going to just drop right back down to what it was before the hacker array was going on. He likely didn't notice exactly what the situation was that drove carbon to its $200 a second price. And so King Morgan effectively, with that hack, tricked Senitz into wasting 2 of his claims on worthless tiles that he's going to have to turn into something like chem production to make any value whatsoever. Glass furnaces coming down for Senitz. Once again, a reasonable decision. However, his opponent's already in glass. King Morgan, as a scavenger, has easy access to an EMP to shut those down, if he so desires. And I'm going to have a hard time seeing Senitz actually hold on in this game if King Morgan can just get another solid hack off. He's actually going for a glass shortage. At this moment, he's already sitting on 150 glass. He has 3 glass furnaces online. There is a natural steel shortage coming, however, and that could be a nice little boost for Senitz to go ahead and hold on through this period of the game. Also, we are not seeing black market come out of King Morgan right now. He is not committed to shutting down his opponent's glass production, and this shortage could backfire royally on him if he doesn't go ahead and do that. That said, he's up to 80%, 81%, 82% of buying up Senitz. He's got that glass shortage coming in that he's going to know about ahead of time, so he can potentially buy into it early. And he is taking that scavenger advantage off of all of these shortages. We're up at 91%. Steel he has sold out of. He has bought back into glass. That shortage is on the way. Senitz is only sitting on about 100 as opposed to King Morgan's 500. And Senitz actually went ahead and sold glass down in response, thinking maybe he would manage to drive that price low enough immediately that King Morgan, after having bought into it, would get punished, but he just didn't have enough glass to make it happen. He should have stuck with the shortage happening. King Morgan's up at 94, 96, 99. He might be able to pull this off if he is paying very close attention to what's going on right now. We're just going to have to wait and see. With Senitz responding and buying into King Morgan's stock, it is making life a little bit harder for him. There's the sell. There's the red button. That's the game. King Morgan takes it 2-1 over Senitz in this best of 3. All right. Good win by King Morgan. Good use of the hacker array, using that to just clean up the game. A few missteps, once again, from each of our players, but overall, still very well-played games. I mean, we're really nitpicking with some of these mistakes, honestly, for quite a few of them. But still, King Morgan making money in glass, making money in food. It really hurt that he committed so heavily to food, and then there was a natural food surplus. Put a bit of a delay on him, but he managed to effectively use all of the shortages and surpluses that were happening that game to his advantage, even when they really appeared like they shouldn't be, right? Like the steel shortage at the end could have played very heavily in Senate's favor. King Morgan goes ahead and, however, manages to take something out of it, making not that much money, but getting a little bit out of that particular shortage. Getting just a little bit here and there, all through the game, not managing to kind of fall completely out of control and spiral out of it ever, and just held on until he had the funds necessary to go ahead and kill off Senitz. Whereas Senitz, on the other hand, he spiraled out, right? He was not prepared. He was not considering his own effect on the market, in particular with this water play. When he committed to 3 glass furnaces, I think that's where his big mistake was. He could have committed potentially into food, he could have committed into reactors, and those would have been a little bit harder to get into immediately, but it was the long term that he had set up for initially by taking the strong early start with the 2 water pumps. Definitely a big deal happening there. Let's go ahead and check black market very quickly. We can see King Morgan made about 240,000. Senitz only made about less than 100,000. So that was seriously a big deal that game. Senitz made a lot of power, but he also bought a lot of power, which is what we were talking about. So he didn't really make much money off of his power that game. Let's check black market. Senitz with only 2 black market purchases, 1 EMP and 1 power surge. The EMP got goon squatted. The power surge was solid because it went onto his opponent's, it kind of went onto his opponent's power. And the whole idea behind that was Senitz needed to pay off his debt. So he wanted to keep that power price high since he had gone ahead and moved into power. So it was okay to go ahead and hit his opponent's power with that power surge. As a nice little bonus, it took out the water as well. But that wasn't as big a deal as hitting that power. Whereas King Morgan, he made 5 black market purchases that game. 2 of them were claims. A nice thing to buy when you have a lead, definitely, is the claim. 1 power surge, which I believe went on to this group of tiles, I believe, for Senitz. I don't remember exactly what was down at that moment. It was fairly early in the game. But still, could have used a little more black market use, I think, out of both players, especially King Morgan. But not badly done. And then 2 goon squads, very reasonable to protect his hacker array play, and then his geotherm. all of those fairly solid decisions when they actually did manage to use the black market. No technology. I don't believe any patents. No, we had thinking machines get auctioned. Senitz went ahead and took it. That could explain some of the lack of black marketing. However, there were only 3 tiles really protected by thinking machines for Senitz, and so it really didn't have much of an impact on that game, if any whatsoever, besides giving Senitz a chunk more debt to go ahead and have. You know, this buildings tab is potentially a lot more useful in 1v1 scenarios. I find it very interesting that Senitz actually put down 42 buildings total compared to King Morgan's 24. I think some of that has to do with the fact that King Morgan was able to just kind of keep expanding and expanding and expanding. And so rather than having to swap a building around in order to respond to the situation of the market with a shortage or a surplus or anything, he was instead able to use the claims that he had lying around from being able to continue to expand and then stick with it. And then when his buildings stopped being profitable, instead of trying to make a move into something that was slightly profitable, so maybe it would work out, he just kind of rode it out, turned off the buildings in the moment, and turned them back on later, as all of them were going to continue becoming more valuable as the game went on. He also had access to the hacker array, just in case he needed to force his hand and say, this building is now profitable. So a lot more patience coming out of King Morgan, rather than rapidly switching from one building to the next, to the next, to the next, to the next, to the next. And that likely cost Senitz quite a lot of money making all those transitions, and could have definitely contributed to his downfall that game.